What's my story? My story is that I was a corporate professional who performed at a very high level in the workplace for many years while living behind a mask of high performance to hide the fact that I was living with alcohol misuse, major depression, anxiety, and intense suicidal thoughts. I was afraid to speak openly because I was afraid of losing my seat at the table. I was afraid of being judged, and I didn't want to damage my professional integrity, so I remained silent. Now, I never drank during the day, but I was a nightly wine drinker. Every night, 5, 6, 7, 8 glasses of wine, followed by blackouts and hangovers, but I still got up every single day, and I went to work, and I performed. No one had any idea that I was suffering in complete silence with so much shame and fear and judgment that I put upon myself. No one had a clue because I was a chameleon in the workplace. I could hide my truth behind my performance. So never overlook those high performers in the workplace. You don't know what's going on behind that high performance. July 16th, 2009, I found the strength to call my doctor and say, I need help. And I was met by the most kind, compassionate, non-judgmental nurse practitioner on that day who saw me balled up in a corner, crying, upset, unable to breathe. And when I finally gained my composure and told him, back then I called myself an alcoholic. I said, I'm an alcoholic and I need help. That nurse practitioner literally did this. He put his hands together and he said, Kim, I am going to help you and we are going to do this together. You are living with a couple of different things that are going on and we can treat you. You can get better and I am here to support you. That nurse practitioner changed my life. Now I got sober in 2009, but it wasn't until 2016 that I spoke openly about it in the workplace. And between 2009 and 2016 was when the worst depression and anxiety and suicidal thoughts happened. Because I was getting healthy, but I was still stigmatizing myself and judging myself for the fact that I was in recovery from alcohol. I should have been celebrating that, but instead, I saw it as a flaw. I judged myself. I stigmatized myself. And that threw me into a very deep depression, but I still performed. Number 1, 2, or 3 on the national account sales team consistently. I still performed. In April of 2016, my leader noticed some subtle signs that her top performer was not okay. She got on a plane from Newark, New Jersey and flew up to Boston. She said, I just want to spend some time with you, Kim. We did one sales call that day. The rest of the day was, Kim, what is going on with you? Are you okay? And that was the first time ever I had taken off my mask and I spoke my truth to my director. I told her about the suicidal thoughts. I told her about the suicide attempt. I told her about the depression, the anxiety, everything. And she looked at me and said, Kim, how in the world have you been performing at this level? Living with all of these things going on in the background. And my response to her was, I don't know. That was my way to hide that there was something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with me. I live with a manageable disease and I am 12 years sober and I am very healthy now. But that leader saw me. She took action, not knowing what she was going to get on that other side of that visit to Boston. She didn't have mental health training, but she was a leader who saw me and took the time to say, are you okay? And because of her, she gave me extra time off around Memorial Day weekend 2016. And I decided to take a trip up to upstate New York and go to a weekend retreat that changed my life. That weekend retreat allowed my light, my fire in my soul to finally come back on. Because of that leader, I was able to heal and become even healthier. And then I became able to fully share my story on stages and at conferences. And once I started sharing my story, the number of professionals who have approached me over the past several years, and this year especially, has been overwhelming. I shared my story at a conference in 2018 in Houston, and there were 150 senior vice presidents at this conference. I shared my story of the good, the bad, and the ugly, everything that I went through, and I talked about mental health in the workplace, and I gave them actionable tools that they can use to start shifting the culture. But what happened after I shared my story was amazing. 13 senior vice presidents approached me from that conference and said, Kim, first of all, thank you for sharing your story. And secondly, you are a brave individual. I want to acknowledge that I see many pieces of myself in your story, and I need to take the first step in getting help. I shared my story in front of 35 to 40 of my peers. My vice president asked me if at a sales meeting for my company, if I would do a training and share my story. I said, well, I'm not sure if I could do this in front of my coworkers, but I found the strength to do it, and I shared my story. Now, keep in mind, my coworkers only knew the high-performing Kim, the trailblazer, the leader, the coach, the mentor, the one who always had a smile on her face. And when I stood up in front of my coworkers and I shared the depression, the anxiety, the fear of going out at night, the suicidal thoughts that were unrelenting, the feeling of being paralyzed with depression, coworkers were stunned. Not a single person moved or got up for coffee or went to the bathroom during my presentation. And after I finished, 8 of my own coworkers stepped forward and said, I suffer too. What I have learned throughout this entire process is, number one, my story is not unique. There are many of us who are living with undisclosed mental health and substance misuse challenges. What is unique is that I'm willing to step forward and be vulnerable and share that story to help others feel safe enough to come forward and speak openly about it. Number 2, we're not alone. We are not alone. And there's more people out there who will support us if we just speak freely about it. The other thing that I've learned is that employees are still afraid to speak openly about mental health in the workplace, and many leaders still feel unprepared to have that conversation. I created the 4 pillars of creating and sustaining a mentally healthy workplace culture after leaving my corporate job on April 1, 2020, and stepping fully into my purpose of speaking, teaching, and training. The 4 pillars is a leadership training that is meant to teach leaders within organizations the impact of not addressing mental health and well-being in the workplace, how to share that lived experience to bring the human connection to mental health, how to shift to person-centered language, decrease stigma in the workplace, and then create that culture where everyone feels safe, speaking openly about mental health without any fear of judgment, retribution, or job loss. I would love to have a conversation with you. I invite you. Schedule time on my calendar. Let's talk about how I can help you shift the culture within your organization so your employees feel safe, stepping forward and saying, I'm not okay and I need help. Real change can happen, but it starts at the top. Leaders must embrace new dialogue and normalizing the conversation about mental health and well-being in the workplace, and they must not be afraid. start the conversation. You do not need to be a counselor, but you are, as a leader, that first person who could identify someone who's in distress, let them know it's okay, that you see them, and crosswalk them to available resources to help get them on the road to recovery. That's the abridged version of my story. I hope that this has given a little bit of a glimpse into why I am so passionate about normalizing the conversation in the workplace about mental health and about training leaders how to change the culture and create safe spaces where we're all feeling safe, saying I'm not okay. It's good for humanity, and it's also good for the bottom line. I look forward to hearing from you. Feel free to go to my website, kimlamontagne.net. You can book a consult through there or go directly to Calendly, calendly.com/Kim Lamontagne. Let's have a conversation. I can help you. I can help shift your culture. But we have to have that first conversation so we can understand what needs to change within your organization to create healthier, happier, and more engaged employees who are mentally healthy and physically healthy.